Good evening and welcome to today's video, which is about how to view everything from a spiritual point of view. So, personally, I can feel when I am viewing the world with the eyes of my spirit versus the eyes of my ego. And there is a huge difference between those two states. I can feel how disconnected I get immediately when I enter into the state of the ego. And also, on the other hand, I can feel how interconnected I am with everything when I enter into the state of my spirit. So, how is it possible to view everything from a spiritual point of view? It is possible in the when we first of all want to see everything from a spiritual point of view. And when I say want to, it can be hard sometimes to know if we truly want to. We may think that we want to see it from a spiritual point of view, but it is not as easy as it sounds. When when we enter into the realm, so to say, or into the state of the spirit, we can only do that when there is no ego involved. And that means that the false sense of self has to give up in order for the real self to enter. And that is the battle all the time in everything. And we have to remember that is part of being human, and that is completely natural. But the first stage in that it even is possible to view everything from a spiritual point of view is that we actually want to. And not that we want to just because that we think that it sounds fun or it sounds like interesting, but that we truly want to in our hearts, like from the heart, from the depth of our core, that we want to, because we feel that we cannot live in the same way as before with the ego as our source. And in that form of desperation, when it truly comes from the heart, a true willingness to experience spirit in life, spirituality, then doors will open immediately, and we will start to view things from a different, how can you say, from a different state of mind automatically. Because when we rip away the ego, then automatically the true self will appear. And that is the first step, so to say. And I would say that the second stage, that is in seeing everything from a spiritual point of view, is simply practice. To practice to see everything as we think that God would see it. Like we pray to see everything as God sees it. We invest in ripping away all of our illusions about ourselves and the world. It's hard work, so to say, and that we are committed to to listening inwardly, um, every day, to find out where that voice is actually leading us, so that we can bring that voice into the world and see things from that point of view, and then choose over and over and over again to act upon it and to follow it. And in that, we will grow confidence in spirituality and in spirit, just as we have in other things. So it is important to understand that we will never do this perfectly. You know, the ego will never disappear for good. The ego will always be there as our shadow. Um, but it is not to be, how can you say, diminished in the sense that it actually helps us at times too. There's nothing that is only black and white. You know, everything exists because there are contrasts in this life. And sometimes the ego is actually for our advantage, but only in certain stages of life. And I will not go deeper into that because it will be a way too long video then. But I just want to say to you that you don't have to feel that the ego is wrong. The ego wants to protect you. And the ego is a sense of self that we have built in order to survive in this world. And when we start to be safer within ourselves, and when we want to live a new life, then it's time to take this ego away, in the sense that it actually then blocks us. So what was for our advantage as at first may not be for our advantage now, when we see it from the view of where we are going and what our goals are now. So it is important that we don't suppress anything that is of us, because it is in the welcoming and the embracing of all that we are that we have the chance to get free. You know, it's like a, how can you say, a beach ball effect otherwise, that we press it down but it will jump up in our heads. Have you ever heard that one before? We cannot press anything down without that it suddenly will come up, and then we will probably get a nosebleed or something if we stand right above it. So it's not about that we are supposed to suppress anything of ourselves. It's about that we recognize it for what it is. See that every action that we will ever make in life and ever have made in life comes from a sense that we want to be loved and approved of. And sometimes we just don't really know how to. And we have done it in the totally wrong ways. And even though it was the ego that wanted to protect us, still at the depth, at the core, it was a longing for love and approval. And when we can recognize that is truly all that we want, then we can start to also seek it from the place that it truly is. And that is always within ourselves. It comes from ourselves. It doesn't feel like that, but it really does. So yeah, to see everything from a spiritual point of view, also there is a bunch of things you can say about this topic because there are many layers to it. But if we really, 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 really just should boil it down to the core, is to view everything with love. And how do we do that? How do we view everything with love? We do it by not suppressing anything, by accepting everything as it is, and remember that we are not our persona. We are the awareness that looks and observes the world, so to say. And when we just strive to see everything with love and to be love in every moment, that is at the core the only thing that actually is of true importance. So yeah, I hope this made any sense. It was maybe a big topic for such a short video, but I hope that it could be of any help. And yeah, just remember that spirit is love. All that is truly is love. And when something is not in balance, it is because that the love is missing in some form of another or another. So yeah, I love you and I wish you a beautiful day.